Wait. If the clock starts before most people even notice it, then by the time you think you're ready, have you already lost the best odds?
That's the terrifying part. Fertility doesn't suddenly change at 35, it's been shifting in the background for years.
So the real question isn't when do you want kids, it's how much time biology already took off the board.
Exactly. And once you understand how eggs age, the whole conversation gets a lot more serious. Let's get into it. Wait, the wildest part is how early the clock starts.
That sentence alone is terrifying, honestly.
People think fertility becomes a problem at 35, but the groundwork starts way before that.
So everyone is casually living like time is a side character.
Pretty much. And biology is doing the opposite of being casual.
Okay, start with the clean version for my brain.
Men keep making new sperm every day, but women are born with all their eggs.
Born with the whole stock? That's insane.
And that stock shrinks constantly, month after month, for your entire life.
The body really said supply chain issues from day one.
Exactly. And by puberty, you're already down to a much smaller vault.
So when people say, I'll think about kids later, what are they actually gambling with?
They're gambling with both egg quantity and egg quality.
And nobody says that plainly, which is the annoying part.
The biggest issue is that older eggs have been sitting there longer, so chromosomes are more likely to misbehave.
Chromosomes getting lazy on the job is such a brutal image.
It is brutal, but it's true.
And that's why miscarriage risk jumps so much?
Yes, by 40, the chance of miscarriage can be around 50%.
That is a staggering number.
And the painful part is people often only learn it after they've already lost time.
Which is where regret comes in and just bulldozes everything.
Exactly. And regret is one of the heaviest emotions I see in clinic.
Is it more the fertility part or the feeling they weren't told?
Both, because people feel betrayed by their own lack of information.
That's such a nasty feeling, like your life was happening off camera.
And fertility should be treated like preventive health, not crisis medicine.
That's the exact shift most people never make.
Right. Because the system waits until people are already behind.
So when should people actually start thinking about it?
Earlier than they want to, honestly, especially if family is a real goal.
That's such an annoying answer, but fair.
I know, nobody loves hearing it.
What are the everyday things that actually matter, though?
Weight, stress, smoking, marijuana, chronic illness, and environmental exposures all play a role.
Marijuana, too?
Yes, and in men it can mean lower sperm quality and more DNA damage.
So the Chil reputation is doing some heavy fraud work.
A little bit, yes.
And cigarettes are obviously bad, but is marijuana really that serious?
It can increase miscarriage risk even if only one partner is using it.
That part is wild because people treat it like nothing.
People underestimate how sensitive reproduction is to the environment.
You mean like pollution and plastics and all that?
Yes, all of it adds up, even if no single thing explains everything.
Modern life is just one long fertility stress test.
That is not a bad summary.
Okay, help me with sperm because men always act like they're immune.
Men make about 200 to 300 million sperm a day, but those sperm are fragile.
200 million a day sounds like a factory with no sleep.
And if ejaculation is too infrequent, dead sperm build up and the sample gets worse.
So there is such a thing as too much saving up.
Yes, the ideal is usually somewhere between every day and every few days.
Nobody tells men that. They just assume more waiting is better.
And that assumption quietly lowers the odds.
What about testosterone replacement therapy? Because men love that stuff.
TRT can act like birth control because it shuts down sperm production.
Wait, what?
The brain thinks there is already enough testosterone, so it stops signaling the testes.
That is such a disastrous little detail to miss.
And sometimes it can be irreversible the longer someone stays on it.
That is heavy.
It is, which is why preconception conversations have to start earlier.
What do you think people should check before they panic?
For women, ovarian reserve testing can help show how many eggs are left.
But does that tell you if you can get pregnant this month?
No, monthly chance is mostly age-driven, not reserve-driven.
So low reserve doesn't mean impossible, just less runway.
Exactly. And runway matters for IVF and egg freezing.
That's where the regret conversation gets even sharper.
It does, because information changes decisions even when it doesn't change the month-to-month odds.
Why do some doctors avoid testing then?
They worry about stress, but I think hiding the data creates more harm.
Yeah, ignorance is such a peaceful policy until it explodes.
Exactly.
I keep thinking about the relationship side because this stuff never stays medical.
It almost always becomes emotional first and medical second.
And then people start feeling broken,
Yes, broken, guilty, isolated, and ashamed.
especially when one partner thinks it's their fault.
I tell couples to treat it as a team diagnosis, not a personal verdict.
Team diagnosis sounds way less humiliating somehow.
It is because nobody is winning a prize for blame.
And I guess the irony is the more you know, the less lonely it gets.
Exactly. Knowledge gives people somewhere to stand.
That line is going to stay with me.
Good, because that is the whole mission.
We should keep going into the myths, because I already know there are a lot.
Oh, there are so many, and some are surprisingly bizarre.
Perfect, because I would like fewer lies and more blunt facts.
Then episode 2 is going to get very useful very fast.
Good, because we are absolutely not done here.
Next time, we get into the myths people believe about getting pregnant.
Wait, the scary part is how ordinary the bad habits look.
Exactly. It is rarely one dramatic thing doing all the damage.
It is always the boring stuff, which is annoying because people hate boring advice.
Totally. Nobody wants the answer to be sleep, stress, weight, and time.
And meanwhile, the clock is just quietly stealing options in the background.
That is why I keep saying fertility is preventive health, not a panic button.
But people hear that and think you are trying to scare everyone into a spreadsheet.
I am trying to scare them into paying attention, which is different.
Fair, that is a more ethical kind of scare tactic.
And honestly, most people are not taught anything until they are already behind.
That part feels almost cruel because the regret comes after the window starts closing.
Yes, and regret is usually louder than the original warning ever was.
So when you say people should start earlier, what does earlier even mean here?
It means before infertility, before pregnancy losses, before the first real wake-up call.
That early? That is not how most people think about it at all.
Most people think 35 is when the story begins, but the story starts much sooner.
The egg vault analogy is wild, by the way, because it makes the whole thing painfully visual.
It has to be visual, because the math is brutal when you just say it out loud.
Born with millions, then down to around 300,000 by reproductive years, then the slide keeps going.
And by the time someone reaches their late 30s, the monthly egg supply drops fast.
Which is insane because life tells women to build everything first and ask questions later.
Right, and the body does not care that your career timeline was ambitious.
The body is basically the worst collaborator on Earth.
It is very committed to its own schedule, which is rude but consistent.
What struck me was the miscarriage number, because that lands like a brick.
At 40, a positive test can come with about a 50% miscarriage risk.
That is such a brutal sentence to hear as a human being.
It is brutal, and people deserve to hear it before they are living inside it.
But this is not only age, right? Because you kept pushing on lifestyle and environment.
Yes, age matters, but obesity, chronic stress, autoimmune disease, toxins, and substances matter too.
So it is not just destiny, which is the only hopeful part of this whole conversation.
Exactly. There are real things people can control, and that matters a lot.
Okay, let us go there because people always want the secret weapon.
The secret weapon is usually not a secret. It is consistency.
That is the most disappointing magic trick possible.
I know, but fertility is extremely unglamorous like that.
Marijuana came up, and I think a lot of people are going to argue with that.
They can argue, but the data says marijuana use is linked with lower pregnancy rates and miscarriage risk.
Even if the other partner is not using it?
Yes, because sperm DNA damage can affect outcomes even without direct exposure on the other side.
That is such a brutal hidden tax, because people think it is harmless if it is normal socially.
Socially acceptable does not mean biologically neutral.
And cigarettes are even more obvious, right?
Very obvious, because they damage egg count, egg quality, sperm count, motility, and morphology.
That is basically a full system attack.
It really is, And vaping is not looking great either in early studies.
The phones thing is where everyone suddenly becomes a philosopher, though.
True, everyone becomes an electromagnetic engineer for 20 seconds.
My favorite genre of internet expert.
The interesting part is older phones seemed worse, and location did not matter much.
So it is less about your pocket and more about the heat or older radiation patterns?
Exactly. And heat is a much clearer issue for the testicles than people realize.
The testicles are basically outside for climate control, which is hilarious and horrifying.
That is exactly right. Evolution was being practical.
So hot tubs, long cycling sessions, laptops, all of that can matter?
Yes, if they are frequent enough to heat the scrotum consistently.
Which means the random guy living in his bike shorts is not exactly optimized.
He is committed to a lifestyle, though maybe not fertility.
The testosterone replacement piece is probably the most unintuitive one to regular people.
It is because external testosterone can shut down natural sperm production.
Wait, so a guy can take testosterone for energy and accidentally make himself infertile?
Yes, and in some cases it can be hard or impossible to reverse quickly.
That is devastating if nobody explained the trade-off properly.
It happens constantly, which is why I get so adamant about education.
I keep coming back to the relationship side because shame seems to poison everything.
Shame is huge, especially when people think the problem is only theirs.
And that is where the whole team framing matters, because it is rarely just one person.
Exactly. Even when one partner gets the diagnosis, the couple is the unit.
I loved that story about the marriage getting better after the sperm issue was found.
Because guilt is corrosive when it lives alone in one person for too long.
That is the saddest part, honestly, because it is medical and emotional at the same time.
And people usually think they have to be strong in silence, which makes it worse.
The isolation piece feels like the thing nobody prepares you for.
It is one of the hardest parts, because everyone else keeps moving while you feel stuck.
That is such a vicious emotional gap, especially for goal-driven people.
Yes, because they are used to effort mapping cleanly to outcomes.
And fertility is basically the universe saying, nice try.
Unfortunately, yes, fertility is not a meritocracy.
The one thing that really changed my brain was the testing question, because people get weird about information.
They do, and I think not checking ovarian reserve can leave people without useful choices.
The argument is that it causes anxiety, right?
Yes, but anxiety without data can become regret later, and that is worse.
So AMH and ultrasound are basically about knowing the size of the window, not the monthly outcome.
Exactly. It tells us opportunity, not destiny.
That distinction is huge, because people hear low reserve and think immediate doom.
Low reserve does not mean you cannot get pregnant this month.
It means you may have less time, less IVF flexibility, less margin for error.
That is exactly right, and margin is what people underestimate.
Margin is everything in life, honestly, not just fertility.
It really is, and biology is unforgiving about lost margin.
So the uncomfortable truth is that waiting can be a choice, but it is never a free choice.
Yes, there is always a cost, and sometimes people only see it later.
That is probably why this lands so hard, because it is not abstract at all.
It is deeply personal, and that is why the conversation has to happen earlier.
All right, my brain is full and slightly offended, which means this was good.
That is my favorite kind of reaction, honestly.
We should stop before I start Googling my entire life at midnight.
Please do not diagnose yourself with the internet at midnight.
No promises, but I will try to be an adult about it.
That is all I ask, and maybe tell the people you trust what is going on.
That is a good place to leave it, because silence is clearly doing too much damage.
Exactly. And next time we get into the myths people believe about getting pregnant.
Good, because I suspect half the internet is about to get in trouble. Wait, people really think fertility only becomes a thing at 35?
That is the dangerous part, because the clock is already moving long before that.
That sentence alone just offended everybody pretending they have time.
It is not meant to scare people, but it should wake them up.
The wild thing is nobody teaches this in a way people can actually use.
That is exactly why people walk into my office already behind.
So the problem is not just biology, it is ignorance too.
And silence, because people do not talk until the crisis is real.
Which is such a human disaster, honestly.
We treat fertility like a last-minute problem when it is really preventive health.
Like cholesterol, but with way more emotional consequences.
Exactly, except people cry more in my field.
1 in 5 women now struggling to conceive is a huge jump.
It used to be closer to 1 in 8, so yes, that is not noise.
Is that mostly because people are delaying kids?
That is a big piece, but not the whole story.
Hit me with the rest, because people love pretending it is one simple villain.
Obesity, chronic stress, autoimmune disease, toxins, and declining sperm counts all matter.
Declining sperm counts are not a side note, that is a headline.
Sperm counts have dropped about 50% in 50 years.
Great, the species is really leaning into efficiency.
Brutal, but yes, not ideal for making babies.
And marijuana is part of this too, right?
Yes, and it is sneaky because people assume it is harmless if it is normalized.
Even if people are having more sex?
Exactly, because more sex does not cancel out sperm damage.
That is such a cold reality check.
The body does not care about vibes, unfortunately.
The body really said no marketing slogans allowed.
And what makes this tricky is that some people are doing everything right and still struggling.
That part hits hard, because then people start blaming themselves for existing.
Yes, and that shame can get intense very quickly.
Especially when one partner gets the diagnosis and immediately feels broken.
I have seen that over and over, and it is heartbreaking.
You were saying the relationship often becomes the real stress test.
It absolutely does, because people turn inward and start carrying blame alone.
Which is insane, because this is a two-person problem most of the time.
I tell couples it is not you versus me, it is us versus the problem.
That sounds simple, but I bet it lands like a bomb in the room.
It does, because people have been carrying guilt for years.
Talk to me about the whole egg vault thing, because that was the part that actually made it click.
Women are born with all the eggs they will ever have, and the number keeps shrinking.
Wait, born with all of them? That is wild.
By birth, it is roughly 1 to 2 million, and by puberty, about 500,000.
And then the body just keeps spending them every month.
Yes, but only about 400 to 500 are ever ovulated in a lifetime.
That is a terrible return policy.
Horrible inventory management, truly.
So what changes as people age is not just quantity, it is quality too.
Exactly, because older eggs have been sitting there longer and chromosomes become more error-prone.
Which means the body is not just running low, it is running riskier stock.
That is a very good way to say it.
And age 35 is not magical, it is just where things start dropping faster.
Right, the decline accelerates after about 37.
So by 40, the monthly chance is around 5%?
Roughly, yes, which is why waiting can become so expensive emotionally.
Wow, that is brutal in a way people do not talk about.
And then the miscarriage risk rises too, which adds another layer of grief.
That is where regret starts to eat people alive.
Regret is common because people say, I wish I knew earlier.
So that is why you care so much about early testing.
Yes, because data can change decisions before time closes doors.
But some groups say testing ovarian reserve is too stressful.
I disagree with that because ignorance is not kindness.
That is a very direct answer, and I respect it.
If someone knows they are running out of eggs faster, they might freeze eggs or try sooner.
So the goal is not panic, it is agency.
Exactly. People deserve a chance to make informed choices.
And with IVF, the egg count matters more because you can only work with what comes out that month.
Yes, I cannot tap into the whole vault. Only the eggs recruited that cycle.
So one person gets 6 eggs and another gets 24. And that is just biology.
Exactly, which is why people should not compare cycles like they are equal.
The internet would absolutely turn that into a leaderboard, though.
Of course it would, because the internet loves a ranking.
What about sperm storage locker mode? Because that part was hilarious and alarming.
Sperm are made continuously, but they take about 72 days to grow plus travel time.
So what someone ejaculates today was made months ago?
Yes, which is why lifestyle changes can matter pretty quickly for sperm.
And frequent ejaculation can actually help quality?
Usually, yes, because very long abstinence can create more dead sperm and debris.
Even sperm do not want to sit around in a dusty warehouse.
Exactly. They do not age well in storage.
And heat is another huge enemy, right?
Yes, because testicles are outside the body for a reason,
Hot tubs, saunas, bike seats, laptops, all of it can matter.
especially if it is daily and prolonged, yes.
That means modern life is quietly hostile in a bunch of tiny ways.
That is exactly the point. It is rarely one huge villain.
It is death by 1,000 habits,
And the good news is some of those habits are changeable.
like cigarettes, marijuana, alcohol, and not treating the body like a trash can.
That is a blunt but useful summary.
I also keep thinking about how isolated people feel when they cannot conceive.
Isolation makes everything worse, even medically.
Because then every failed cycle feels like a private moral failure.
Yes, and that is why support matters as much as information.
If someone is listening and terrified right now, what should they do first?
Learn the basics, talk to someone you trust, and stop waiting for perfect timing.
That last part feels like a personal attack on half our audience.
Good. Maybe it will get them moving.
Fair enough, fear is a motivational tool, very medical.
Not fear, just honesty, because time is real and so is choice.
That feels like the whole episode in one line.
And the real takeaway is that nobody should have to learn this too late.
That is a good place to land because my brain needs a minute.
Mine too. And next time we get into the myths people believe about getting pregnant.
Good, because I have the feeling the internet is going to catch flames.
Absolutely, and we are not even done yet.
Episode 2 is going to be fun in the most stressful way possible.
Exactly, and we will keep peeling the myths apart.
All right, let's go ruin a few bad assumptions next time. Wait, 1 in 5 women dealing with infertility is wild.
And it keeps climbing because people are starting later and healthier less often.
That sentence hurt my soul a little.
Good, because the data is not exactly gentle.
So the delay is the big villain, but not the only one, right?
Exactly. Stress, obesity, toxins, marijuana, and declining sperm counts all matter.
Humanity is really speed-running bad decisions.
Pretty much, and the body keeps score quietly for years.
Why does nobody learn this in school?
Because we teach anatomy, not real-life reproductive timing.
That feels like a massive oversight.
It is, especially when fertility is really preventative health.
Preventative health sounds right, but people treat it like fate.
And that's the trap, because some choices are absolutely modifiable.
Like marijuana affecting pregnancy chances even with more sex?
Yes, because sperm quality can drop even when frequency goes up.
So the internet's favorite chill habit is not helping.
Not in this department, no.
And sperm are made fresh all the time, which is kind of rude.
It is rude but also useful because men can change things fast.
Right? 3 months and you can actually move the needle.
Exactly, because sperm take about 90 days to develop.
Eggs are the opposite, basically a fixed vault from birth.
Yes, women are born with all the eggs they will ever have.
That vault metaphor is brutal when you hear the numbers.
It drops from millions before birth to about 300,000 at puberty.
And then it just keeps falling every month like rent.
Exactly. And the quality drops too because those eggs are aging inside you.
So at 40, it is not just fewer eggs, it is worse eggs?
Right. And that is why miscarriage risk rises so sharply.
50% miscarriage risk at 40 is terrifying.
It is, and people deserve to know that before they are shocked by it.
The wild part is people think they are failing when biology is just late.
And they carry guilt like it is a personal moral problem.
That isolation must be wrecking people.
It really is, especially when everyone around them seems to move on.
And then couples start blaming each other immediately.
Which is why I keep saying it has to stay a team problem.
That is the least romantic and most necessary thing ever.
True, but it saves marriages sometimes.
I was surprised you said low ovarian reserve does not change monthly odds.
The age matters more for 1 month. Reserve matters more for total opportunity.
So 1 egg either way, but fewer chances to play the game.
That is actually a pretty good summary.
Then why do so many doctors avoid even testing it?
Because they fear stress, but I think ignorance causes more regret.
That is a hard argument to fight, honestly.
People cannot make decisions with data they never got.
And then some people find out right when they are already behind.
Exactly. And that is when the what-ifs get loud.
I keep thinking about the friend who learns it too late.
That is why early education matters more than people admit.
Okay, my takeaway is basically, don't wait to panic, just learn early.
That is a very Malik way to say it, but yes.
I will take that as a compliment.
It was, and next time we can tear into the myths.
Good, because I need the internet to be humbled a little.
Perfect. And we will keep going where the shame usually hides.